Welcome once again to our channel. This is Primetime Analysis. Someone once said that you can campaign in propaganda, but running an economy can never be done through propaganda. Because if you do it through propaganda, reality will catch up with you at some point. Kenya Kwanza came into office with just one rallying call. And this rallying call was that they were going to make cost of living get lower and that things will be affordable and people will have a better way of life. But 1 year into this, things seem to be totally out of hand. Unga prices have remained high as they were. Sugar prices are also continuing to rise by day. Fuel prices up as always, and everything remains to be up. The only thing that is now working is that as people are continuing to get some produce from the farms, we have seen some food prices starting to fall kidogo kidogo, but that has not reached to a level that can be easily accessed by every Kenyan. In one way of ensuring that they tackle the high cost of living, Kenya Kwanza has opted to distribute countrywide the edible oil dispensers. Moses Kuria calls them Mama Pima dispensers. Now, these dispensers are supposed to allow Kenyans to purchase edible oil in terms of quantities that are only determined by the amount of money that they have. So you can have 10 shillings and you can get edible oil for 10 shillings. And this is supposed to be distributed countrywide. This, to me, it could be a good move. And I've walked around and I've looked, I've seen many of these dispensers around. And it is not something that is new. But when government comes in and wants to use it as a way of ensuring that Kenyans have lower prices in terms of edible oil prices, it becomes a very serious question that needs to be addressed. First of all, take a listen to what Moses Kuria had to say today.
That they are bringing in a machine, a dispenser for edible oil, because now we continue to sell edible oil in quantities that are not compatible with the size of the pocket of our people. So we are now in the process of shipping dispensers, edible oil dispensers, which they have agreed that we name them Mama Pima, that are going to be rolled out all over the country so that even within our informal settlements, we can be able to dispense edible oil in a way that is compatible with our people. And actually, that will be the end of the cartels within that particular sector, because we will have actually democratized the distribution space.
Now, we know that on 21st August, the president of Indonesia is supposed to be in the country. President Joko Widodo is supposed to, among other things, sign bilateral trade agreements with our country. And another thing that he's supposed to do is help President William Ruto launch these edible oil dispensers. Many people have asked whether is this a good move or is this a bad move? And I want us to look at this thing critically and analyze the impact of this launch that William Ruto is supposed to do on Monday. But before we do that, please, if you have not subscribed, please take a second or two to subscribe to our channel. And if you're watching us as a returning viewer, we thank you for the great support that you continue giving us. Now, let's get down to the main issues. Kenya Kwanza hyped itself that they are the only team with the understanding of how Kenyan economy issues can be addressed. They have tried, and the best that the president can give us right now is tell us that he has managed to stabilize the economy. You start asking yourself certain questions. What does this stabilize the economy mean? Does it mean that something is better? If you look at our shilling against the dollar, it continues to fall by the day. At some point last week, it was 150. Late last week, it was around 149, 146 there. So it is something that has been rising. Every effort that they have tried to ensure that our Kenya shilling gains strength against the dollar has failed totally, and nothing is even promising. So telling us that they have stabilized the economy, and if we also look at the level of borrowing that this government has gone to, it has been highest even compared to that of Uhuru that they continue castigating day and night. I can tell you that last week it was reported that Kenya government within the first year of this regime has borrowed close to 1.5 trillion Kenya shillings. And this is a record high. And that is why you hear William Ruto is currently boasting about dispersing CDF and the county government funds earlier, because this came from the debt that he borrowed the other day. So I want us to look at the impact of this Mama Pima that Moses Kuria is talking about, and he wants to put it to Kenyans. First of all, I want to remind you of one thing. As a country, we have very many companies that have specialized in production of edible oils. The ones I can remember top of my head are Pwani Oil Products. We also have Unilever, we have Kappa Oil, and many others which are there. And these companies have employed many, many Kenyans who work at different levels, both directly and indirectly. The idea of giving us edible oil dispensers is meant to ensure that the edible oil that was imported by Kenya National Trade Corporation, the edible oil that Moses Kuria was uh, purported to have engaged in some corrupt issues, they are going to import finished edible oil, then distribute it and have it dispensed through these machines that they're going to spread across the country. And one question that some people were asking, will this thing be another avenue for corrupt engagement? Because if you look at it, in the first place, it is curtailing job creation in the country. For instance, if you have, let's say, a million, or let me say even 200,000 or even 500,000 edible oil dispensers distributed strategically across the markets, you'll realize that people will go to get their oil from those machines, because they'll realize that these ones can give me, if I want it for 10 shillings, I can get it. But going to the shop, I'm told to buy at least 100 and something. So they would opt to get these dispensers and get their edible oil from them. When this will be going on, what will be sold more will be that oil that was imported. However, this one that has been produced locally will not get market immediately. And the only way these people can also get to sell their produce is also to have other dispensers and sell them in that format. So this is something that I think, first of all, it works against job creation, and it can, in one way or the other, push many people out of work. This really is one of the things that I think this government is getting wrong, and very wrong on a serious note. Because looking at the measures they are putting to ensure that Kenya is trade ready, they are in fact trying to put more restrictions against investment in Kenya. Assuming there was somebody who wanted to come and invest in this industry, looking at what the government is doing, he will not, he or she will not feel confident, because he knows that in Kenya there is serious competition where the government is also engaged in trade. And one person asked that when KNTC is allowed to engage directly in retail, in trade that is localized, isn't it trying to elbow out established businesses that are still existing? So this is one of the strategies that William Ruto is failing when it comes to ensuring that he creates employment opportunities for Kenyans. You would even ask, a whole president of another country coming Wouldn't it be better if they launched a manufacturing company that would be manufacturing edible oil and giving it to Kenyans at a cheaper price? This will work greater because, first of all, this industry will create employment. Apart from employment, it will also be paying taxes. It will also be aiding towards industrialization of the country and opening up areas and regions that are a little bit remote. So this is something that surely I would ask the government, what is their end game? What do they want to achieve with this kind of stance that they are pulling for us? Another thing that you'll realize that these dispensers will lead is that they will also ensure that the revenue that the government gets is seriously reduced. Remember, these edible oil manufacturing companies that are already in the country are giving KRA billions of Kenya shillings in terms of taxes annually. But when this noble taxpayer is edged out of business, where will the government get its taxes again? Because we know that KNTC also decided to contract importation of these edible oils, and therefore there are other cartels behind the scenes who are facilitated to ensure that we get our goods at a price that they have set themselves. So this is something that will not work in terms of supporting the government to get its revenues that it keeps projecting each and every time. Kenya Kwanza has largely desired to have quick fixes for every issue that they get encountered with. And in most cases, you realize that they go for quick fixes that do not last and do not have a lasting solution that can change the entire landscape of our economy. Look at the Hustler Fund, for example. It was brought, people took it, and that was its end. It continues to live. And remember, you remember that the government is seeking around 20 billion Kenya shillings to inject into Hustler Fund from the World Bank. So you realize that the government has realized that it is not sustainable from the money that they have, and they must find a way of getting loans from outside to come and fund another loan within the country. The economists on the side of the government, I think many of them are asleep because these things, they do not add up. I do not know what you think about this issue when it comes to the question about edible oil dispensers. Okay, one thing I must say is that they are good because they will allow people to access edible oil at lower prices that they can easily get. But it also has a downside. First of all, it will reduce revenues because it will edge out edible oil manufacturers from the market, and that is what Moses Kuria calls the cartels. It will also run people out of jobs. When companies close, people cannot go to work. And also remember, there are those who are employed indirectly by these uh, people, edible oil manufacturing companies. Remember, we now have a machine that will be there to just dispense for you that oil. But this is a job that somebody else somewhere has been doing. Now he cannot compete with the machine because the machine will give you at a lower price, but him being a human being, he will not give you at that price. So this is something that also must be considered. Then again, the government revenues that it gets from taxations. When these companies close down, where will they get their taxes? And even if they flood the market with their imported edible oil, those that have been, those who are manufacturing these edible oils, all of those that are already in the market, what will happen to them? I think the government should find a way, a middle ground of protecting the consumer, but at the same time working to ensure that its industries are stable and stabilized. Because if you look at many companies right now, they are moving away from Kenya, going to Tanzania, going to Rwanda, and some even going to Uganda. I don't know what is your opinion about this, but for me, I believe while this is good, it needs to be well calculated to ensure that the government does not end up losing what it wants to get at the end of the day. That's my take. Please, if you have any opinion, don't forget to speak to us down in the comment section. Thank you once again, and please remember to subscribe if you have not subscribed, and also give this video a thumbs up. Thank you, and may God bless you.